Hey, so this is the Obsessed Movie Man. Sorry there hasn't been a review for a while. Again, things have just gotten in the way. But I have a review coming for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And this is going to be an interesting video because this is out of order. I was originally going to do a unscripted like this video about Spider-Man 3 or my pitch for Sam Rami Spider-Man 3 or how I would have revised it, but that's kind of been done a whole bunch of times. So if you like these storylines that I'm about to give, I will do my version of Spider-Man 3. But this is an interesting video made for no one but me. I am the only one who probably wants to see this video. But I want to get my ideas out there, my horrible, horrible ideas out there, and say where I think the storylines of Spider-Man 4 or 5, I'll explain that, should have gone. And the reason I say Spider-Man 4 or 5 is because I'm going to give my version of Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 4 to briefly be, well, brief. My version of Spider-Man 3 would not have had Venom until Spider-Man would not have had Venom in it. Venom would have been Spider-Man 4. So that's why I say my pitch for either Spider-Man 5 or if we ignore my version of Spider-Man 3, just keep Spider-Man 3 as it is, these would also be my pitches for Spider-Man 4. I know that's a lot. So I have 3 pitches and I'm going to go from least interesting, at least to me, to the one I would like to have seen the most. And so, the first pitch would have had Carnage as the main villain. And I say this is my least interested one because we would have had Venom and the black suit in Spider-Man 3, or if we did my version, we would have had the black suit in Spider-Man 3 and Venom in Spider-Man 4, so it would be kind of redundant. But we would, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk, and if you give Avi a raw Venom, he's gonna want Carnage. So that's kind of my mindset. So let's just say, let's play devil's advocate, and Avi Arad forces Sam Raimi to put Carnage in. Taking into the fact that Sony would in no way make this rated R, especially in the era of superhero films that the Sam Raimi films were in. This would be at least a hard PG-13, and we could try our best to do maximum carnage. That is my basic pitch. Also, just full disclosure, for anything that would have been Spider-Man 4 or 5 or whatever, in this storyline, it's going to have the marriage of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. We just need to wrap this whole love story up. I mean, yeah, the romance is kind of the focus of this whole trilogy. Just need to wrap it up, just get the relationship out of the way, just have them married, and we'll never one more day this. So, that's my least interested, less developed one. It would be Carnage. Next, my next pitch is kind of a fun one that I came up with. It's Scorpion. And I think I know how you can do Scorpion. You're going to have a scene where there's a boat floating around the wreckage of where Doc Ock drowned. And it's a fisherman's boat, and they're going to pull up one of the tentacles. And don't take it to Oscorp, just do something else. Oscorp shouldn't be a crutch. And Jameson is going to be a main part in this film. He's going to be an active player because you're going to adapt the Scorpion storyline. All these are storylines all these pitches have storylines that can be adapted from. And you can do Scorpion a few ways. The Mac Gargan, you can do a few ways. Where you can have him be the private detective hired by Jameson to spy on Peter Parker and how he gets the Spider-Man stuff. You could even play with the idea that Peter Parker's working at the Daily Bugle on the staff position, like in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. and Jameson's really curious now as to how Peter's getting these shots, and so he hires Matt Gargan. Or you could have Matt Gargan is an involuntary test subject at this science lab, and Jameson is secretly funding it to make a villain to take down Spider-Man because he really hates Spider-Man at this point. But the thing with this tentacle is that it has the same problem as Doc Ock. Its AI basically drives Matt Gargan crazy, and he goes after not just Spider-Man, but he goes after the people who put him together, the scientists, and he goes after Jameson. And in this film, Jameson and Spider-Man have to work together because Jameson finds out that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are one and the same. And it could be like a father-son um, dynamic because Jameson has always kind of looked out for Peter Parker in these films, or secretly. And you can even have a moment. Jameson's not going to die, by the way. Jameson is too integral and he's too popular, and J.K. Simmons does a fantastic job. He's not going to die, but he will get injured saving Spider-Man. But all these villains will die, and that's because Sam Raimi, well, except one, Sam Raimi basically wanted all the villains to die, or it seems like he did. So that's going to be the Scorpion arc. Now, also maybe in one of these films Aunt May could die. And the reason I'm not a proponent of death in comic book films. Sometimes I think it's weak, but sometimes it could be earned. The reason why I say this is because I don't know how much you can do with Aunt May, with her storyline. In Spider-Man 2, she's losing her house and gets abducted by Doc Ock. Spider-Man 1, she's understandably she is a big part, but that's the first film. Spider-Man 3, she doesn't really do anything, so I think the logical assumption is Aunt May has to die. And this, am I done with Scorpion? Yeah, I'm done with Scorpion. This is the one that I wanted to do, and this is the storyline I used to act out with all my action figures as a kid when Spider-Man 3 was coming out. And the weird thing is, this storyline that I'm going to propose was done in one of the video game tie-in movie video games. It was either in Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3 the game. I don't remember which. I don't play video games that often. I only played Spider-Man 1 the video game. So it was a huge coincidence when I found out that this was adapted into one of the video games. Anyway, Spider-Man 4 or 5, whichever way you look at it, is going to have two villains. One is the Lizard. We've been building Kurt Connors up. He was mentioned in Spider-Man 1. He's in Spider-Man 2 and 3. We need to address the elephant in the room, the arm. They've never mentioned it. I mean, they just showed that he has a missing arm. Talk about how he lost his arm, and how he's trying to regrow his arm. I think in Spider-Man 3, they didn't say he was a biologist. So we're going to kind of retcon that. Or they said I forgot what they said. And he regrows his arm with lizard DNA, and he runs amok as a giant lizard. Give him the lab coat, give him the snout. And unlike Amazing Spider-Man, with the memeable plot of turning people into lizards, he's just a somewhat mindless lizard. He could be kind of sentient, like the Hulk, where he says basic words, but have him just go around killing people, not necessarily eating, because that might be a little too cannibalistic, but that he's just running amok, and Spider-Man eventually finds out it's Kurt Connors and has to save him. The other villain, and this is where the coincidence comes into the video game, is Craven the Hunter. And you can play with Craven a few ways. That sounds wrong. I was going to say you can do Craven in a few ways, but that's also wrong. Anyway, let's adapt Craven in a few ways. One, he hears about this lizard creature, solely the lizard, and is like this cryptozoological game hunter kind of whack job, and wants to hunt and kill the lizard. You could just be a regular game hunter. He could actually be there for Spider-Man and the lizard, but I would just say he's there because he hears about this lizard creature and wants to hunt and kill it, and Spider-Man keeps getting in the way. Or you could even do the ultimate storyline, the ultimate comic storyline where he is a TV show hunter or something or whatever. and also adapt some, sprinkle in a little bit of Craven's Last Hunt, where Spider-Man gets buried alive. Craven will die, Lizard will live. And those are my pitches for Spider-Man 4 or 5. And I know it seems a little weird I keep saying Spider-Man 4 or 5, but just to reiterate, these are the storyline ideas I would like to have seen if either Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 stayed as is, or if Spider-Man 3 and 4 happened, my Spider-Man 3 and 4 happened, and then we had Spider-Man 5. So that's what I mean by Spider-Man 4 or 5. I probably just went all over the place saying 3 or 4 or 4 and 5, but I think I made it a little bit more clear. So to summarize, it would either be a film about Carnage and adapting Maximum Carnage. It would be about Scorpion, who is a science experiment gone wrong, funded by Jameson, and having the Doc Ock tentacle as the tail. Or it would be about Kurt Connors transforming into the Lizard, being hunted by Craven, and Spider-Man has to save his friend and defeat Craven. Each one of these would have the marriage. Each one of these would have the death of Aunt May. And that's what I would have done. If you like this video, or if it does okay, I will continue with my idea to release my pitch for how I would have done Spider-Man 3. And if that in turn does well, which this one seems maybe unlikely, I would do my pitch for Spider-Man 4, which would have been how to do Venom. And I don't remember if I said this or not, but the reason why I would split the black suit and Venom into two different films is they really, in my opinion, need to be separate storylines, kind of like in the comics. Venom needs to have his own film where he faces off against Spider-Man. Basic pitch for Spider-Man 3 was, in my idea, was we nix Sandman. Harry Osborn's the main villain, as he's the Hobgoblin, and we deal with the black suit. It would be an adaptation of the black suit and an adaptation of the death of Harry Osborn. That was my pitch for Spider-Man 3, but I can go more detail in another video. I will be working on my review of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This was very fun. Maybe I'll do more of these if you guys are interested. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all later. Bye.